Alright, boys and girls, we're back again finally for another episode of Information Overload. Perfect for a side of Honkai Star Rail and Nikkei gameplay to quench that ADHD as you continue to avoid your daily responsibilities and feed your hunger for dopamine while instead of endlessly scrolling TikToks, Instagram Reels, or YouTube Shorts, you decided to instead watch longer videos in the background while playing Genshin or your favorite MMO. Or even eating another bag of Doritos. Can you tell I'm not projecting myself here? So, come get that sweet, sweet serotonin as we dive straight in. Sirin has somehow come back to the game in her original form. Massive F in the chat for those that wished for her to rise again as HOV and be stepped on, myself included. Instead, we got Chibi Ryuko, who's come from the Captainverse to snip and perform vasectomies on all other basement dwellers out there. Don't mind me. I'll just stick to adult Bronya. With that being said, I, Jayniro, will be your Pepega Honkai Twitch streamer guide into Sirin, the miracle magical girl within Honkai Impact 3rd. Honkai has been seeing a trend in more recent times of leaning into other statuses and methods of dealing damage that exist within the game further, like freeze, stun, bleed, and summoned entities instead of just the pure raw Giga Chad damage output we've seen in past units before the end of Part 1. Sirin brings herself to the table as much as you did as a kid wanting to sit with her grown-ups at Thanksgiving. Except, well, this time, her parents never lied to her, and she actually provides something of value. Other than our resident mascot Aichan, Sirin is the first character we've had in a long time that heavily leans into the Ignite Trauma status effect. Just like Susanna, Sirin is a pyrotechnic about as skilled as Oppenheimer in stacking Ignite higher than the Twin Towers. Oh, wait. Sirin possesses multiple ways to stack Ignite on her foes, and can stack even more through the Magic Girl channel status, which increases max Ignite stacks. The easiest way to do so is by spamming basic attack. Both her N3 and N4 apply 3 points of Ignite Trauma each. After she does her N4, Sirin can follow up with Cut, which deals fire damage and ignites any magic sigils she's applied to enemies from her weapon active, or her N3, which also applies magic sigils. When Cut hits, though, Sirin restores HP to herself and inflicts 5 Ignite Trauma on the enemy. The final method, though, comes from her charge attack. Just like every new character since the dawn of time, Sirin possesses her own special meter mechanic. Sirin's Starry Faith bar can store up to 600 meter, which can be restored by 150 from each basic attack, or 400 from her ultimate evasion skill that restores HP, and can also be followed up by her N3 to continue gaining more charge. Sirin's charge attack, though, has a little more nuance than most. In order to fully utilize it, you have to sit there and do nothing. And hold down the attack button. You see, Sirin's charge attack actually has 2 different levels. Just like every bow character in Genshin, using only level 1 means your damage is going to be less than getting hit with a wet noodle. Level 2, though, is where you're actually going to see stonks rising higher than Topaz's bank account. If you know, you know. At full Starry Faith, by holding just a little bit longer, Sirin will actually do a much grander attack instead that deals much more damage. From this, Sirin can actually follow up Fate Slashing Circle with a new attack called Join to deal even more Ignite damage, restore HP, and inflict 8 Ignite Trauma. During charging, Sirin actually gains the Iron Body state where she takes 80% less damage and has high interrupt status. This means natively she's better than pre-buff Zhongli. If only we could say the same about post-nerf HOV. After Sirin, though, has applied all her Ignite stacks and dealt her Ignite damage, she'll want to follow up and finish with her ultimate. During her ultimate, Sirin expands her domain and unleashes a pocket dimension that traps enemies more than Mahito's self-embodiment of perfection. Yoiki Tenkai. During this, Time Frozen Domain is in effect, though, where all skill timers and stage timers are paused, and as a result, Sirin is able to perform more vasectomies than Faust. However, though, in order to perform more surgical operations as such at maximum efficiency, we need to talk about her gear first. Sirin is actually quite an anomaly in the game, as she's a character free-to-play players can finally gear correctly. Congrats! You have now unlocked normal damage. Now, let's be real for a second here. Her weapon is her best in slot, but it's only available via gacha, so be careful if you want Big Knocker's tree set all next patch. But her weapon is nothing to snuff at. It increases Sirin's Ignite damage by 25% while dealing additional damage from her weapon skill and Cut. It also gives 3 additional stacks of Magic Girl Channel when casting Cut, and Join additionally creates 4 additional needles that deals additional damage times the number of Ignite stacks for Ignite damage. It also increases the fire damage by ultimate and burst mode attacks by 25% and regens 2 SP for each ignite stack on the target with the most ignite stacks. Meanwhile, the Pry-Arm also causes ignited enemies to take 15% more damage, and enemies with more than one ignite stack an additional 18% damage for a grand total of almost 2 times more damage. My math is more than likely wrong. On the flip side, if you choose to skip a weapon, just know that it's okay, because Pardo's weapon is unsurprisingly better than Aichon's weapon for budget players. Rudder does provide some nice increases of total damage for the entire team and also fire damage as well, but Pardo's is going to be more useful, especially since you'll be pairing her with Aichon almost exclusively. But that's okay, because it's not just quite Jover yet. That's right, we're backburned since Sirin's signature Stigmata is 100% completely free and farmable from Universal Mirage. For Patch 69 finally balances the difference between the 4 damage type stages, as Fire finally has a floor 7, which means G4 Stigs have finally arrived to the game, and they happen to be the best in slot for Sirin as well. The Little Joys set features tons of buffs to total damage, raw fire damage versus ignite enemies, ignite damage, and ignite trauma dealt, as well as less damage received from enemies and max HP increases. The free-to-play friendliness doesn't stop there though, as we do need to talk about Sirin's ranks. For the average player, ranks usually aren't something they usually look at, since they're more concerned about just getting the character themselves instead. For others though, it's usually a question of, do I get full gear or do I get ranks? But for Sirin though, this remains no problem at all. Rather than make your wallets cry like Zaylee did last patch, I promise the video is coming soon, I swear, Sirin actually brings a smile and sunshine instead. Before giving a circumstance, like I've been alluding to since earlier, Sirin is the first farmable S rank we've gotten in the game since Sushang, but we haven't seen a fully farmable S rank gear and all since Elysia and Fallen Rosemary before her. With that being said, her ranks become just that much more enticing. Her S1 lets the fire damage from her ultimate actually be treated as ignite damage instead. Just like how Susanna's physical damage is considered bleed damage, this is huge as it allows her ultimate to spike in damage due to the benefits from her ignite stacking. Her S2 will give her 40 bonus SP at the start and also deals bonus damage as HP loss while charging, similar to the mechanic we saw with Kira 2 patches ago. S3 is an increase to her leader skill, and double S causes enemies to take 5% more fire damage from Sirin herself. Trust me, this is good in endgame where enemy HP pools, defenses, and resistances are absolutely ludicrously huge. Double S1 though casts Cut automatically after Sirin enters the battlefield, and Join's fire damage increases by 25%. Double S2 reduces the ultimate cooldown by an additional 15%, meaning Sirin can rotate even faster. Double S3 is of course yet another and her final leader skill increase, but Triple S though causes Fate Slashing Circle to deal bonus fire damage to ignited enemies, and Charge Attack in general to deal 45% more total damage to ignited enemies. At Triple S, Sirin becomes an absolute monster more than she already is. At S0, a full rotation is dealing 12.5 million damage, whereas a Double S SPA deals 12 million with the full rotation. If she's dealing that much at S0, just imagine the damage she'll deal at Triple S. It'll blow everything else out of the water. While Sirin may be amazing value for F2P players, and apparently Booba Cecilia clone coming next patch as well according to my friend Fenrisk, the wallet still does cry a little, as supports are needed if they aren't had already. In terms of main support, we're obviously going to default to HTR due to her abnormally large buffs, since her personality won't be abnormally large until APHO. Right behind her though is the F2P friendly AE if HTR isn't in your roster, but just know that a 0 out of 4 HTR is better than a 4 out of 4 double S AE unironically. As for the sub DPS support we'll use though, we're gonna have to default to Aichon even if she doesn't have much gear. Rudder should be used on her if you have it, but if you don't, for HTR as well, just refer to their respective guides I've made. Even without their gear though, Aichon's base kit is already synergizing so well enough by igniting enemies while off field, and continuously dealing damage to them further while buffing Sirin's own damage. Luckily though, Aichon is farmable as well, so it shouldn't be too much of a problem getting her to Triple S in no time. If you don't have Aichon though, and are looking for someone to apply high amounts of Ignite Trauma fast as well, you can use Sakano Rondo, but just know that it's going to take some time getting her burst up, and a lot of Ignite Trauma she applied back in the day mainly came from her Pry-Arm, which the base weapon for is available in the exchange shop, or more importantly the foundry to be crafted. So, all in all, Sirin is absolutely insane for a new fire DPS. While she does get heavily outclassed in terms of raw damage output by Hofi and HFS, in those niche situations where you want ignite damage, she reigns queen. Sadly though, we can't really say the same for her main universe counterpart. Please buff HOV, please. It's actually really interesting to see Hoyo lean more into methods of damage that seem to have been forgotten for so long. Power creep has been rampant for raw damage, so it's nice to finally see some damage in alternative methods. It seems that with the rise of dots in both Genshin and Star Rail, Hoyo finally remembered that there existed an entire alternative damage type in Honkai, and is doubling down further by bringing out what Fen and I are dubbing Thunderbleed with Teresa, the new foreign exchange student. Maybe up next, we'll see a possible Ice Bleed or Freezer Burn? Anyways, if you enjoyed the vid, a like and sub to the channel would ignite my heart with joy. Yeah, that was bad. Anyways, back to reading 50-page articles and designing finger linkages. The video is coming soon. Trust.